Hello there, everyone, and welcome to FFUK video special, where we'll be meeting some experts, FFUK, FBL experts. I've got a number of them with me. I'm not sure how many of them are experts and how many of them are not, but we'll be getting to that soon. But before we do, just a quick up on the update from us. Obviously, football is back underway on Wednesday. In a couple of days' time, and we've done an update on the website. So if you go to that ffuk.me, you can read the very latest. But basically, not too much has changed, except we've managed to add a new weekly prize of £15 to the best scorer. So it's all good news, really, and we've got a lot to talk about this evening. So let's bring in my guests, I think, at this point. And here we go. I've got with me Tim here. Tim, Snow Patrol, how are you doing?
I'm all good, mate. All good.
Excellent. Thanks for joining us. Excellent. I've also got top of the table, Mr. Baker, Mr. Cups. How you doing?
Yeah, very good. Thanks, Chris. Good evening.
Good. And also, of course, Peter. How you doing, Pete?
I'm doing great, thanks. Good to be here.
Excellent. Thanks for joining us. And Justin, all the way from West Cork. How you doing, Justin?
Really good, thanks. Happy to be here.
Excellent. Cheers, man. And finally, last but not least, from the depths of West Surbiton, it's Damo. How you doing, Damo?
All right, guys. Good to see you.
Excellent. Right. So we've got as we were discovering just before we came on air, 5 of the 6 of us are on the first page of the leaderboard in the FFUK league. So we have got some experts here. Mr. Baker is top of the league, Justin is second in the league, and Tim is 11th in the league, with Damo not far behind in 24th, and Peter on 41st. So all amazing scores. I will not add my latest position to that number just yet, but you can look it up if you have to. Okay, right, let's get going, because we've got a lot to cover in hopefully not too long a time. So firstly, how are you doing before lockdown, basically? How is your season going? So Tim, how was yours?
Well, as you've just said, I'm in 11th, so it feels like it's going okay. Obviously I'm still a cunt. All year round I'm a cunt. But that's obviously still there, hanging in. As Justin will tell you, I'm out of the cup. Still sore about that one, Justin.
Sorry.
and wasted my triple captain on him.
Ooh.
Thanks to Sadio Mane, the bastard. But yeah, all in all, it's okay.
Good. And obviously, Bakes, no need really to tell us, but how's your season gone so far, top of the league?
Going quite well, Chris.
Well, let's not hang around on that. And Justin, yours has obviously gone quite well too.
Yeah.
Damo, how was your season so far?
Mixed bag. It started off okay, and then I got in a groove, and I was doing pretty happy. In the last few weeks, I went very well over Christmas, and then I did that old wild card just before for lockdown, and that was built around the Man City Arsenal game. And then that got canned, and I had Aubameyang captain. So I was about 93k in the world. Played a wild card and dropped to 130k, and dropped out of the top 20 in FFUK as well. So that kind of stung a little. And I had Harvey Barnes on my team that morning of that. Just about 20 past 11, I transferred him out for Mahrez, and he went on against Leicester. Had that, and I got rid of Vardy as well. So it was a bit of a sour way to leave it, but having said that, the break's done me good, and I'm looking forward to getting back into it.
Yeah, I think we all are. What about you, Pete, so far?
Slow start to the season. I was very gradually ascending before the lockdown. I hope that the pause doesn't affect the ending of my season.
Good. Okay, and I've had the season from hell. So let's move on. So during lockdown, we all had the ability to, or the opportunity to make transfers. I'm just wondering how many of us did. Tim, did you make any transfers during?
I made a total of 5.
Okay. What about you, Bakes? Did you make?
Not one. I made a call early on just because I just didn't know what the plans were going to be, how it was all going to shake out. I just thought,
fair enough.
Might make a transfer, need to bring the player back in, and make all sorts of silly mistakes. So I just decided I'd just do absolutely nothing.
Yeah. Okay. What about you, Damo? What did you do during the week?
I just made about 3 game weeks in, just one transaction, 2 transfers. I got rid of Aubameyang after he stung me with the captain. Not bitter at all. And he brought in Tammy Abraham, just for you, Chris. Chelsea punt there, and I also brought in Fernandes because I'd missed that bandwagon too, and got rid of Decore. So I had a bit of cash freed up there. So, and then I just left it, just dialed out of it after that. I haven't been near it, until last week.
Okay. Well, Justin, did you make many moves?
Yeah, I think I did a move every week just because I could. And I actually bought and sold players without ever playing them.
Who did you buy and sell?
I bought.
Sounds a bit like Chelsea's transfer policy.
I had Lamela and Jota at one stage, and they never played, and I sold them. That's the one you were sagging me. I got in Gendouzi, but the idea was to upgrade Jota to Jimenez, basically.
Okay. No, fair enough. I love the fact that we've all done something completely different so far. What about you, Pete?
Yeah, like Justin, I use my transfers every week. A little bit bitter because I thought, well, it's worth a punt. I'll bring in players with an extra game in hand. And so I came into this week with 6 double game weekers, which was a complete waste of time, basically. So,
Do you still have your wild card though, Pete?
I do have my wild card, but yeah,
then
it's
you've done all right. I don't think you've wasted it because that's, I think, the most powerful chip left. Nearly, you can just do what you want in the next 2 game weeks and get back out of it. Where I used one just before this game week, and whatever I do now, I'm stuck with.
Oh, because you haven't got your wild card.
No, it's one game week, and it would have been okay. So I think it's a really powerful chip if you still have that.
On that basis, I'll say thank you, and you're right.
Okay. All right. Well, that sort of leads us on really to the most important sort of subject matter, because anyone watching this and all the people watching this right now and in the future basically are going to be having similar kind of dilemmas, and there are some big decisions to be made in the next 9 game weeks, and we've all got at least a couple of chips to throw down, and there's just so many. There seems like there's a lot of options, but then whenever you have fantasy football, there's sort of fantasy football groupthink. So I think we're going to have a bit of a chat now, hopefully, about the next 9 game weeks and how we're going to attack it. I don't know if anyone wants to go first. Anyone?
Keep it in order. Tim, do you want to go first? Keep going that way.
Me to go first?
Go on, Tim.
Yeah. Okay. Well, as I was saying to Chris off video, I'm kind of disappointed the fact that there is a free wildcard, because I think I was set up well. The transfers that I made throughout lockdown, included bringing in a keeper who is Leno, who has ended up with a double game week. I replaced Kelly, who hadn't really been playing, swapped Salah to Mane. So that, to me, they were all sensible sort of transfers, and I thought my team was well set up for the rest of the season. Out with the fact that I didn't, I have another wild card to use. I have my free hit to use, which I was obviously planning for double game weeks, as we always do towards the end of the season. And I suppose that's probably where my mind is at the minute, that this is likely to be the only double game week that we have. Although how many minutes people will actually get in these 2 doubles, I don't know. Will we all want to stock up on more than one Villa player? I don't know. But I think that's probably where I am at the minute, is with a free hit, because I like the team. I like what I've got left for the rest of the season. But as I was saying to a couple of you earlier on, the only thing that will keep me from using a free hit this week is my cuntiness.
Okay, you need to probably explain what that is.
That means that I am in the FF UK Cons League, where there is an eviction every week for the lowest point scorer, And because there is no eviction this week, it kind of makes me want to hold on to the free hit for something else where I might need to save my bacon, shall we say.
Because you could use it in Thursday.
Or what?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I did say that to Chris when I dialed in tonight. I don't know why I'm here as an expert because I haven't a clue what I'm going to do. It's likely to be, and yes, I know I'm being recorded. It's likely to be a free hit.
Have you got the bench boost as well, Tim? Have you already burned
Yeah, I've got bench boost and free hit. So that's either that was my two strategies before I started thinking about the Conts League. And maybe I just shouldn't think about that because, you know, as you know, it's luck that anyway. So yes, I could wild card with the free wild card and bench boost or free hit, which I'm sure you are all thinking of. So
yeah. Okay. So who's not someone who's not going with that free hit strategy at the moment, or thinking they're not going to go with it?
I'm not.
Okay,
I'm
so
not
Pete,
hit.
You're not going to free hit, and why is that?
Well, because my team wouldn't be what I want it to be in game week 31. Basically, I have 3.
What you get back, you mean? Yeah.
It's all about what I get back afterwards. So,
but you could then wildcard into. You could go free hit wildcard.
Yeah. So my plan basically was to try and save the wildcard for 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Until the lineup settled down a bit. And that's led me through this process. But I was so pissed off in the Bundesliga this weekend because, again, about 4 of my players didn't start.
Yeah.
I'm thinking I have to bench boost this week because at least there's a double chance of the shit players playing. And the bench boost is all about those budget players. It's not necessarily about, it's about both, but a large extent is who you're bench boosting. Otherwise, the double game week is just about choosing a great 11. So I've resolved to bench boost this week, and I'm trying to work out a team with a basically reasonable bench, which is pretty hard work between Villa, Sheffield United, Arsenal, who I don't want basically any players other than Aubameyang, and City, who are like the most unpredictable lineup in football.
Okay.
So,
so there's just a few issues you've highlighted there.
So I've pressed auto select.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping for the best.
I saw a great thing earlier on Twitter, and someone had done a screenshot, and they said, it's time to step away from your whatever, and the screenshot said, you cannot have this many players from Aston Villa, and it was like you've already got enough players from Aston Villa, and you just think, gee, that's a really bad sign when you're wanting four Villa players in your squad.
So about 4 hours ago, I took out 2 double game weekers and replaced them with single game weekers, and also put in Reina for the first time as my second keeper, which didn't feel good.
As I do enjoy saying, two times fuck all is still fuck all.
Exactly. I'm praying for penalty saves basically from all my bench.
Excellent. Hoping that one of them goes in goal and saves a penalty. All right. Well, that sounds like a solid plan. Justin, are you going down that route, or what are you doing? What's your thoughts at the moment?
Well, I think I was saying to you just before we started recording, I kind of keep changing my mind. I was pretty sure I was going to do the free hit thing, but I've been thinking about the bench boost, and you're not going to get any value from that chip if you don't play it this week. Because you can't play bench boost in game week 38 traditionally, because there's going to be so much rotation, and you're just not going to get. So you're not going to get any value from that chip if you play it now. But the thing with the free hit, the obvious reason for going down that road is team value. People don't want to lose. Like, even if you wildcard afterwards, you're losing all the value on like Mane and everyone. actually kind of keep changing my mind. So actually what happened today as well, a bit of team news, is I'm sure I'm probably the only person affected by this, but Tanganga, let's return.
He's out,
So
isn't he?
he's out, yeah. So I actually haven't been looking at my squad. So I've done the kind of thing where like all my values in the first 11, I have a really ropey bench. He was one of them. I was hoping he might come in, maybe get the odd game during rotation. But without him, it's like him, Shalata, and Gendouzi as my bench. So I'm starting to get a bit nervous about that situation with rotation to the first 11.
It says there's a report on Fantasy Football Scout. He's set to miss out with a stress fracture to his back.
Yeah, I think there was rumors of COVID actually.
How much does it cost then?
He's like 4.1, like, so he's an enabler. Basically, my bench is all as cheap as you can get. So I'll be going back to that team. So I like my first 11. You know, it's all Fernandes, De Bruyne, Mane, Salah. But any rotation, I'm in trouble. Like, there's nothing coming off the bench, you know. And there will be, and with the 5 subs. I don't know. I feel like
this is the argument. This is the argument that's against bench boost. Is it worth laying down your bench boost if, for example, 3 players miss out, which is quite likely. And it could happen, and you're just left with what you would have anyway, and you've wasted a chip completely. I mean, okay, you're
going to end up wasting something. Like you're either going to waste. I'd love to have free hit for the last game week. You know, because you might get a bit of team news with all the games kicking off at the same time and all that. But like, you're going to lose your value if you don't free hit now. I don't know. They've changed the game really, like by giving us all these, you know, unlimited transfers.
Yeah, it's almost just burning the bench boost.
Mm-hmm. You could just not literally. I mean, you're going to play it just for the sake of it, but you could just not play it.
Yeah, play first 11 all the way.
In protest, it's a protest.
Well, no. Oh, that would be great.
Well, Bakes, if you're far enough ahead, you could actually do it out as a kind of a showboat finish.
Yeah, you bake, and you're winning in the last week, and you go, I'm not even going to lay down my bench boost. Don't even need to.
You've only got 2 extra games.
Yeah. Damo, you haven't said what your plan is. Do you have a plan?
Yeah, well, I was just picking up on that bit. Bench boost. What I find is it nearly keeps a bit of manners on me because it stops me making some stupid rash decisions to get rid of really good single game week players. Because, you know, look at say like Wolves assets that I have 3 of at the moment, instead of transferring them out because you want to get double game week players, you're like, no, I'll stick them on the bench and play them anyway. So I think that's where it's useful. So that's where I'm leaning towards anyway, because I was set up previously with the wild card. My team's in pretty good shape, only needs a few transfers, and I'm confident of how it looks. The only thing is, the reason I haven't decided on what it is yet is because we haven't heard from Pep yet, or we haven't heard from Arteta. So depending on how that goes, you know, that will decide. I won't leave it as late as possible on Tuesday because there's no value coming in, as in there's no price rises, which is important to remember. So I'm leaving it to decide, and then I'll see what looks best. But I'm at this stage, I'm 70% going to. I've made a few provisional transfers. What I do is lock them in, take a photo of the screen, and that's it. And then I wait, and I'm looking at. And what I would do as well is I kind of try and back my decisions based on the research I've done. So I'm going like heavy on Sheffield United. So why would I then go and get 3 Villa players? Because I'm backing the fact they're going to get a clean sheet. Now, I think you have to have cover. So that's Grealish's cover. After that, I'm not interested in Villa. Their defence has been shocking all season. Why should it get suddenly better? And also with Villa, they have to attack. Draws are no good to them. So they'd probably go all guns blazing. I think there's a lot of hype around McGinn. I wouldn't buy into it too much. He'll definitely play, but will he play 2 games back to back after 6 months out? Not in my opinion. I wouldn't have him. And if you look at his stats anyway, he's more a box to box player and does the groundwork to release Grealish. So yeah, I was like you guys as well, because my team's in pretty good shape. I was frustrated when I heard about all the transfers. Then as soon as I dove onto the team and started playing around and realizing all the options, it was pretty exciting. And I'm bearing in mind, like, after the 3 months of dour, depressing news that we've had, you know, I get it. And it's really exciting for everyone involved in the game. And we're just a small fraction of the people who take it probably a bit more serious than the majority of the 7 million players. So for a lot of active players, it's a really good thing they've done. It's a nice thing. It's like, oh, look, it doesn't matter. It's a fun game. Have some fun. Enjoy your mini leagues till the end of the season. So I got my head around that. I'm happy with it. And then as well, I'm kind of looking towards the next week. Players like Chelsea. Chelsea they're a fun one because there's some really good players back from injury, but that also means you haven't a clue who's going to start. Ross Barkley, 4 assists in his last 2 games, 5.6 million. Sounds a no-brainer, but he could be on the bench. And they got Villa up, then Man City. So you're really bringing him in for one game week. Same with Marcus Alonso. I think he could be overlooked because their defense hasn't been great all year, but he's just like a winger who gets defensive points. And against Villa, I could definitely see him racking up a score. But again, will he even start? So it's a few. I'm looking at enablers anyway as well further down the line. I'm very close. I'm 0.1 away from like 3 of my ideal scenarios. I'm 100k shy of them, and I just keep thinking of that Fernandes transfer, not getting him in early enough.
Oh, that 0.1 thing is everyone's going to be seeing that a few times with unlimited transfers. Okay, so we've all got different views. I think the other elephant in the room is Liverpool that we haven't really touched on because
we had to talk about Liverpool.
Sorry, Tim. The city of Liverpool. Let's talk about no. We talk about Everton if you want, but I don't know what options I think their season's done.
I thought you were going to say it's Bakes, our number 1 leader. We haven't heard a lot of chat.
Well, no, absolutely. Okay, no, Bakes. I mean, where are you at?
I've gone around the houses a few times. The music feels like it's kind of stopped on the bench boost wildcard idea, and I've got 2 misgivings with it. The first is that the wildcard for me is the most powerful chip. So to force yourself to burn it in a specific week feels a bit weird to me, and I'm not particularly happy about that. But I'm going to have to make my peace with it. The other thing as well is that I'm very mindful of is making all of these changes now to what my squad's pretty good. I'm fairly happy with it. But if I make too many changes, I mean, I'm not going to be able to buy back that same team because of the difference between the selling price and the current price. So I've got to be really careful about the players that I switch out, because the more I take out, the harder it's going to be to get a decent team back in afterwards. So Fernandes, if I swap him out because he's at Tottenham and I can get a better player in, maybe another midfielder or someone like that, it's going to cost me 0.3 to get him back, and I'm going to want him back because United fixtures are amazing after game week 30. So it's a little bit. There's two parts of that I'm not particularly happy with. But back to, I can't remember if it was Justin or Damo saying that if you don't use your bench boost now, when are you going to use it? So might as well. Plus, everybody's going to be doing something. Everyone's either going to be free hitting or bench boosting. So I've got to do one or the other. And actually looking at my team now and thinking about kind of like 31 to 35, actually looking at my squad, I probably do need to make sort of maybe 4 or 5 changes to really optimize it. So it requires a wild card anyway. So I kind of.
So you think you're going to bench boost?
I think it's probably going to be the bench boost.
And then wild card straight after.
And wild card straight after, yeah. And then save up 3 hits for whatever craziness might come down on.
And then have you got your TC as well, the triple captain?
No, I burnt that week when everybody either went Salah or Mane, and I had both, and I went Salah. Got lucky.
When this whole thing was announced, that was the initial. Like, obviously, we all follow the big like fantasy football accounts and stuff, and the sort of chat on Twitter. That was the initial. This is just so obvious. This is what we're doing. Everyone's going to do it. And you couldn't. At first, it was like, yeah, that makes complete sense. And then obviously you start to look at it, and there is issues with it, especially if you've got all the chips. Mainly because you've just got so many options, you don't know how to narrow it down. So how do you narrow it down? It's like it's not that simple, is it? And no strategy is going to be the right one for everyone. So what we're saying is all very personal, I guess, as well to our team.
I think you'll never again get a chance to do this. To play 2 chips essentially in the same week. It's the same thing as being able to play a wild card and a bench boost in the same week. Just because of like the circumstances, that's never going to happen again. So it's kind of hard not to do it.
Well, I mean, we don't. You say that, but games can get. There could be more. There could be double gamings. I guess it's very unlikely now.
But that's the other thing we haven't mentioned. That there could be more doubles. By the way, we don't.
I mean, that's something we haven't. Yeah.
There was some important news as well. Like remember, there's a very high chance that this league can all just get stopped again in 2 or 3 game weeks. And it pretty much, the resolution is to get stopped, that's it, it's done.
But,
so bear in mind, you don't want this game to be ending and still have your chips in your back pocket because you're saving them to the end. So that's the thing. Yeah. The way I see it is everyone's circumstances. You need to look at your mini leagues, look at where you are in the league. Like, for instance, I'm looking at up to top 10, I'm maybe 40 points away, 60 points away from top 5 of our FFUK league, and that's it. That's kind of where I'm trying to play. There's no point in me trying to play against Justin and Base because I'll end up just losing, making bad decisions, and I'll never get there. It's too big a gap. So I just try and look at where you can get little wins, and because there's obviously rewards and money all the way down to 20th place. So that's my target. And then I've other work leagues. We've all got our other side leagues, and I'm kind of looking at them, watching what those players in and around me are doing, not focusing on the top players in the game and what they're doing, because that's their strategy for what they need to do. And some of those might be playing a defensive game, as in just holding position, and others need to attack. So, like I say, I think always keep it on your little area and where you think you can realistically get to in 9 game weeks.
Okay, good shout. Pete, what about you? You must you've made your decision, but what other thoughts have you got on it? Really, I think Liverpool is the other factor, and I sort of mentioned it before because they're once they win the league, firstly we don't know what happens to them, but also we can't really imagine an FPL side without Salah or Mane, and TAA. Mm-hmm. And we're basically all planning to. Are we all planning to not have them in 2 weeks? I don't know. This is what
I've already sold. I'm selling to them. So Robbo,
yes,
and Trent will never go. Yeah,
I suppose if you've got a wild card, everyone again, we're all in different positions. But all right, Pete, what's your thoughts on it then on Liverpool?
So I want to try and avoid wild carding straight out of this game week, which, if I am being factual, so the game weekend's on Monday.
Yeah.
New game week starts on Tuesday.
Yeah, that's a nice turnaround. How many hours turnaround? What we got?
So 8:00 on the Monday until 6:00 on the Tuesday to do your wild card.
10:00 when it finishes.
No, the game doesn't finish till what?
Okay, yeah.
And the game won't update till maybe 11:30 midnight at the earliest. So
Either way, it's like so you'll be able to do it from 8:00, but you're not going to have a week to mess around with it. You've got to go.
You'll actually be able to do it from 8:00 on Wednesday night. Once the game.
Oh yeah, if you know you can
start, then you can
exactly. Yes, of course. Sorry, yeah, you'll be able to do it from this week.
But it's how much
information. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm. Okay.
And I just think the rotations are just going to be just horrendous, personally, and the little niggly injuries that knocks and muscle pulls and all this sort of things. So I don't want wildcard straight out of this game week. So I'm trying to make a team that I've got 3 basically double game weekers that are worth nothing that I can shove on my bench and have decent players around them. So I don't mind keeping Grealish. I've got Mane, I've got Fernandes, I've got Aubameyang. At the moment, I've got Doherty. I'll either have Jesus or Aguero, and there'll be either Vardy or Rashford the following week, because City have got 3 games in 6-7 days. So it's not just this is not a normal double game week by any means, but I do think it's the best time to use the bench boost, because in 3 or 4 weeks time it's going to be just as much a lottery as it is now.
I don't know. I think in 3 or 4 weeks' time we'll have some form. We'll have some injury kind of idea. We'll have more idea about rotation. We'll know whether Liverpool are playing a completely different team. I think there is something to be gained from waiting. It's just about whether you can obviously take control by using those chips now. And are you losing too much ground?
Well, yeah, exactly. And if everyone else is playing chips, it's like, do you want to gamble on having that advantage in 3 weeks' time? And it's like, I'm not convinced enough that I'm going to hold it, basically.
In your
A lot to be said for getting points on the board.
Yeah.
the wild card.
Yeah.
That's why I said.
Now, I honestly,
Well, although no one's playing all their chips in the first 4 game weeks of the season, are they?
no, but then that's a 38-week season against a 9-week season.
Yeah, true. And if we were playing a 9-week season every season, and this is the situation. Do you think then maybe the you're right? Is the answer then to smash it the first 4 weeks with all your chips and then sail home rather than but the way we've played. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but the way I've played for the last since the chips have been introduced is completely the opposite of that. I've held on to them to the last possible moment and played them in the last double game weeks of the season to optimize my finish.
Because you have the doubles and the blanks, and it makes sense.
Yeah.
I think that's a fundamental flaw of the game, though, that makes players do that. It drives you down that path because there's going to be double game weeks. I think if you have your 3 chips and you got 3 of them to use by the start of the new year, and then you get 3 more chips, it makes the game up. And the chips could be different chips, but you have to use triple captain, say, before December 31st. And then you bench boosters in the second half, and they could have 2 more chips that they had. I just think it would drive everyone away from just hoarding them.
I think I'm struggling. I think I'm struggling enough with 4 chips. I don't know if I can handle any more. Tim, what about you? What are you thinking then with all these chips? Blast them out quickly, or?
I don't know. I possibly, and I think the one thing that wasn't mentioned there is the Champions League obviously has to come back into contention at some point.
The actual Champions League.
The actual Champions League. Yeah.
I thought it was happening after the season finishes.
I don't know. Is
it's basically not. So basically, for City, then you could argue it's almost a pre-season. They're going to finish second, aren't they?
Yeah, I think that's what I was going to say. In 2 weeks' time, Liverpool champions.
Tim, I was going to wear. I actually bought a Liverpool jersey in lockdown. It was like my one treat to myself. I was like, look, it's the last time we're going to have a decent jersey because we're moving to Nike, and first time winning 30th. I didn't wear it tonight. I said I wouldn't do it too.
Assuming that they are champions very soon, you kind of will probably lose some of their players. I would have thought. I'll probably not hold on to Mane. I don't know what effect that has on City. Second place is probably wrapped up, and they're in the Champions League qualifying if they're allowed to be there next season. So,
I mean, Tim, if anything, I would say if you remember back to before lockdown and how bad it was listening to the Liverpool fan.
I blanked it out. I can't even remember. I didn't even know when the Champions League was.
It was like tinnitus, but worse. It's actually settled down. Let's not tempt them, but it's actually settled down. And now we know it's not a real win. So
there'll be that little asterisk, won't there?
Yes,
there'll always be that little asterisk.
That's why he's top of the league. He talks so much sense.
Poor Justin getting cyberbullied on a Meet the Experts panel.
I think the question there was something about my chips. So
Go on.
What representation do we have here? So we've got Chelsea, Liverpool, Leeds,
West Ham, Everton,
and Everton.
Yeah. We can all do a bit of a preview of our teams, like team news for the Premier League, except for Damo, obviously Leeds fan. But there you go. Sorry, right, Tim, talk us through your chip. Sort of what you're thinking. Are you saving them? Are you blowing them?
I think I probably will. As the guys have said, it just makes sense to use one of them this week with the doubles. As I said to you earlier, Chris, the Bundesliga Fantasy League has really made me concentrate on the fact that people will get substituted at half time and after 50 minutes, and it's going to kill us all. So, but that'll probably happen for the rest of the season. Well, potentially. Yeah. Possibly those clubs at the bottom of the league actually are more likely to play longer. Possibly. So will Jack Grealish play 90 minutes twice next week?
Yeah. So, yeah.
So I don't know. I'll probably use one of them this week. Potentially the I don't know, free hit or bench boost. I'll decide while I'm sleeping tonight. Possibly, I don't know. I'll use one of them. I don't know whether a wild card will. So I think it needs to settle down for a couple of weeks, and I'm not using a wild card with only a few hours or not really knowing that everything's settled down. So
yeah, I'm not sure it will ever settle down. I think once it gets going now, that might be it. We're just going to be into a little roller coaster till the end of the season. Because it's quite hard. Anyway, anyway, Bakes, let's come to you because you're the man who's top of the league. We can't talk about this forever, and before we finish, I want to talk about City quickly. So, just any sort of other thoughts before we get to that?
I was going to suggest a discussion topic around are there specific players we think that you wouldn't normally consider, but under these circumstances, maybe they're more worthy of consideration than other times. And the player I've really got in mind is David Silva. It's his last season at City. He's a legend, obviously, for them. He's a legend in the Premier League. I can't see Pep leaving him out because he's going to give him the game time. So if I'm looking at one player who's might be a bit of a differential, then for me, David Silva. But for the rest of them, God only knows. Kevin De Bruyne will play pretty much all the time. I'm sure he'll get at least 60, 70 minutes every game. I reckon David Silva's going to be nailed on. The rest of them.
I think
David
Silva more played the tail end of the games, the last 3 or 4 games.
I think that's a big call, David Silva. I think there's definitely an argument to be made that he can play for his finale, but you can make the same argument that Foden's going to play because he's his replacement and he's got to get, this is his, I don't know, a passing over or something.
Well, he might get 70 minutes of David Silva and 20 minutes of Foden every game.
Yeah, I can see that.
They're the trickiest club because they've nothing ahead of them, they've nothing behind them. Because he said it's pre-season for them. They'll be KDB, for the rest of the season.
They're not going to want to get injuries.
There
a great chance for the Champions League.
Absolutely. How surprised would we be if on the first game against Arsenal, he could easily put KDB, Aguero, Sane, Mahrez on the bench. That's the sort of options he's got. And he could go, I don't want to play Laporte. Why would I play Laporte? He's my best defender. Why would I risk him at the moment? You can make a case that he's not going to play any of them, but we have to go with the percentages as a fantasy football manager, don't we?
He's probably quite reliable in defence, but
yeah.
What I will say about City is I have a feeling, and this is just gut instinct, that they'll be really good behind closed doors. They could play their kids and beat teams 6-0, 7-0. And it's almost taking the pressure off them a bit. You can see some
the Champions League. Their season is all about the Champions League. They can't go into the Champions League in August with their best players having not played. They've got to have matches. So
that's why I think we need to get on City now for the next 2 or 3 game weeks. Then, and they will absolutely want to do a number on Liverpool as well. So, I'm thinking they'll go heavy in the first game. Burnley will see the rotation. Then they've got the FA Cup game as well, don't forget. And then Liverpool, they'll play their absolute best team because they know Liverpool probably will have it wrapped up by then.
Absolutely. I think that's part. Yeah, I agree. I think that's a team out for Liverpool just because.
And they won't want to get beat.
Yeah,
But looking at the City assets myself, you're kind of going, look, Aguero and Jesus, they're just going to rotate. It makes perfect sense. So you're thinking Aguero starts and then Jesus, and they'll probably flip around. You got to pick them, which is the easy one. But I actually think Arsenal's defense is the easier game. Burnley will be tougher, because Burnley is just low back. You never see Burnley taking a hiding, really. Very rare. So I'd actually more fancy Aguero against Arsenal than Jesus against Burnley. Even if you knew which was playing, Pep even told you, I'd still prefer to have Aguero.
60 minutes is the margin between Aguero and Jesus' minutes this season.
What, as in Aguero's played 60?
That's all the differences. And for what it's worth, in fantasy football, about 27 points.
Okay,
It's
so
nothing
who's not having Aguero here in their team for?
at the moment, but I'm so 50-50 on it because I've got rid of KDB. So
You've got rid of KDB and Aguero.
yeah. So I need a captain.
Bring KDB back in.
Pete, why would you get rid of the two most devastating players in the league?
Aguero is nowhere near one of the most devastating players in the league.
I think he is
No,
per
KDB.
minute. Per minute, he is.
Forwards, he
Per
is
minute.
like
Per minute.
per
He is.
minute played. Well, I mean, you can look at all sorts of stats. Forwards
Well-
wise, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He's the 9th best forward in FPL.
But per minute he's the best, I believe.
Yeah, not per million though.
No, not per million. No.
Jesus did
No.
per
If you
million,
want
wasn't
budget, then you go the
So
Pookie card.
if I look at my team for this next week, I've got
Point.
Danny Ings, who's away at Norwich, and Jimenez away at West Ham. Sorry, Bix, but they
I've
both.
got anywhere to
You what, Tim? What was that?
Let's say Danny Ings and Jimenez could both fill their boots, and I'm thinking of free hitting or wild carding one of them out to then get them back in again because Jimenez's fixtures for the rest of the season are excellent. So I want them there. So that's the one thing that's keeping me from putting Aguero in.
Yeah. There's no 100% correct answer. I'm pretty sure of that.
KDB looks like he enjoyed his lockdown.
Who enjoyed their lockdown? Justin?
KDB, did you see the image of him looking pretty clubby?
No. What was he doing?
Yeah, I'll see if I can find. No, he just came back. I think it was just one of those dodgy photo angles, but.
Oh, you think he might put a few rounds?
Oh,
We can't be giving out information like that if it's just a dodgy camera angle. We've got 3 viewers, Justin.
I'm going to get the image and see if we can share it.
You can share it. Yeah. Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
All right. But,
Well, that's what they said about Jadon Sancho as well, wasn't it? Didn't he pile on the pounds and miss the first 2 Bundesliga games that I had him?
Yeah, he came back and he didn't play straight away. And that was the classic example of a massive player who you would expect to start every game playing dominant. He came back. They didn't even think about risking him early on because why bother risking anyone? You've got 9 games to play for. Unless you're desperate to win. Basically Liverpool haven't got anything to play for. City haven't got anything to play for. Leicester haven't really. Chelsea have got to go for 4th, and then you go down, and there's only 3 or 4 teams playing for something really for those Champions League places, and then there's 3 or 4 teams. I mean, because I think Norwich are pretty much gone, but then you've got 4 or 5 teams above them that can go down. There's a middle of the league with Everton in there that can't do much. Tim, what do you reckon about Everton? Would you touch them for the rest of the season?
Hold on.
DCL, I think, has to come into everybody's thinking because of his price. He will play. He scored 2 a couple of days ago in a sort of behind closed doors. One of them was a screamer, actually. So I think he's the only one, but possibly Mason Holgate as a 4.4 million defender who's going to play. But I wouldn't be considering any of them for this week.
No, God, no.
Because of our opponents, who will remain nameless. And
you're not expecting
will beat us.
You never know, Tim. You never know.
I know.
No,
and then people like Justin will always say it was behind closed doors, it didn't count.
Yeah.
To be honest, you're losing about the only edge you have anyway.
Is it at Everton or at Liverpool?
Yeah,
Everton.
Okay.
They were talking about playing
the scoreboard not working or anything.
Yeah, no, they were talking about it being at a neutral venue, to suit Liverpool, obviously.
All right.
Give them the league, and we should all go.
Yeah. Well, no, we can't though, Tim, because there's fantasy.
We're all at home.
Fantasy football. Yeah, that too. But there's also fantasy football prizes to play for. Right, we've talked for 45 minutes, so let's sort of try and start wrapping it up. But Bakes, I didn't come to you before about the cups situation in FFUK, so I wanted to just quickly chat about that. So can you just let us know where we're at? Is there anyone here who's left in a cup? I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that, 3 out of 6.
So we are through to the quarter-final stage of both the FFUK Cup and the Milk Plate. And certainly the feeling is that given how far those cups have progressed, we've got to play them through to a conclusion. So what we're going to do with those is these new game weeks that we've got 30 plus, 31 plus, 32 plus, etc. What we're going to do is we're going to retrofit them back into the game months that they would have been in had the season played out normally, which means that the quarterfinals will be decided in the March game month, which will include game week 29, 30 plus, and 31 plus. The semi-finals will be April, which will be 32, 33, 34, and 35 plus. And then the final will take place over an aggregate of the final 3 game weeks of the season, as it would have been, unless if this madness hadn't all happened, that'd be 36, 37, and 38 plus. So a little bit of maths for me to do in the background to figure all that out, but it will play out as if it would have done had things not changed. The Champions League is in a very different position in that it really had only just started. Part of the beauty of it was that it was designed that it would start to kick off as the Champions League started to come back in again after Christmas, around sort of. I mean, it was due to come back just after lockdown first came in, I think. So there's a lot of work that goes behind the scenes to kind of make it happen every week, and given there's so little time between game weeks, the decision's been made to cancel it for this season, which is a shame because I think it was just sort of bubbling up quite nicely. We've shown that it can work. We can bring it back next season, absolutely. But to your point that you made at the very outset, Chris, now we can use the money that was going to go into prize money for the Champions League for a new prize, which is the weekly game prize.
Superb. And all of that is on the update on the website if you want to go to that. Right. So,
Chris, just mention something there about Arsenal.
You want to talk more about Arsenal?
I just missed something there that Arteta has actually reported that he has no injury concerns ahead of the game. So
good.
Someone like myself has Saka and Nikita in the team. Saka's been filling as a left back. He's got Kieran Tierney. He's got Kolasinac to come back in. So he may well play a game, but I'm getting rid of him, I think, now because he's no longer a double game week option. And that's the only reason you're holding on to him. And Keddy, you don't know. He was actually starting to bed in well there. But realistically, like I said, if you have him, what's the point in having him if you're not playing a player of that quality? And if they're going to get rid of him, then they're going to want to get him some game time and get him seen and get him in the shop window. So again, how much game time will the two of those players get? I'm not entirely sure. So for me, they're probably
that he's going to play Lacazette in one game and Nikita in the other. Nikita is a steal. He's 4.4 now. I got him 4.3.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with Arsenal is there is an obvious target who's very expensive and then lots of other ones. And it's the same story again, isn't it, about not knowing who's going to play both games. And also the theory,
worse than that.
They're going to get tonked. They're going to get tonked in one of them, you think. But I actually spoke to an Arsenal fan last night who said that, because I was ribbing him, and he said he thought maybe Arsenal would do better because actually they are terrible with their own crowd. The pressure they don't play well under the home crowd pressure. So he thought they might actually play better.
And it's so quiet at the Emirates anyway. Playing in front of nobody isn't going to make any difference, is it?
It's so backwards, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. Although there was a definite case of away sides doing better in Bundesliga early on, and we've got to be a little bit aware of that. So anyway, I wanted to ask one question of each of you before we go, and it's just about your captain, really, because I think I know who I'm going to captain, and I think it's obvious, but I want to know who everyone else is going to captain. Obviously, you might change your mind, but Tim, who's your captaincy going on?
KDB.
Bakes?
I'm angling towards Aguero at the moment.
Okay. Pete?
Chris, I don't think you've even told us your strategy.
Oh, well, it doesn't really matter. 150th. I'll tell you afterwards.
It's a toss-up, but I'm quite happy captaining Aubameyang if necessary. I think it's much of a muchness. It'll be a big gun. Aubameyang, Aguero, Jesus. It's unlikely to be KDB because I broke my own heart a couple of nights ago taking him out of my team. So it won't be KDB. Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. I free up so much money.
Pete, let me see the photo I sent to the WhatsApp group, and you might change your mind.
Okay. Yeah.
No, I don't think it's going to be that cut and dry this double game week. I really don't. We remember Sanchez and Aguero getting 5 goals in a double about 3 or 4 years ago. Usually, double game weeks are a bit unpredictable, and I think this is about the most unpredictable we can prepare for. So if I miss KDB, I don't know, I'll send him a tweet or something.
Well, afterwards. Excellent. Okay.
It doesn't look great. Yeah. Justin, I've just changed my mind.
Say again?
You changed your mind?
In that photo, so I've just changed my mind.
There you go.
He looks beautiful.
Okay. That's all right. It's just breathing out or in, whichever
the legs.
We're all carrying a little lockdown weight. So Justin, what about you? Have you got a captaincy pick yet?
Yeah, it depends what strategy. If I free hit Raheem Sterling, gonna take a little punt. Just that feeling that like his stats were actually quite good, and you know it's a whole new thing now. I don't see any reason why he couldn't bang. I don't know if I don't even know. I can't even remember who. If I went for the other strategy, probably like Aubameyang or something.
Okay. How about you, Damo? Who's your pick?
It will depend on what I hear from Pep tomorrow. You know, if there's any sniff of information about rotation or who's feeling good, that kind of thing.
There won't be.
Absolutely. Everyone's doing. Yeah, they'll say nothing.
He's going to say absolutely nothing that's going to help.
The usual. So look, it's a real. I more kind of go. Who would I be more annoyed with when they turn in a result and I didn't captain? So if De Bruyne did it, I'm like, oh well, you know. But if Aguero goes in back to hat trick, I'm like, look, he does that. He does that. Why didn't I captain him? So I get more annoyed at myself for not captaining him. So I might go Aguero.
Okay, that's a nice little.
On the Fantasy Football Scout website, the current voting is 38% De Bruyne, 36% Aguero.
And next one, nothing.
Aubameyang 5%, Sterling 5%. It's 2 horses.
What's that?
Following the herd.
No, I mean,
you would definitely be back.
It's the safest way.
Yeah. I think. Well, yeah. So, Pete, you asked what my tactics were going to be. When all this sort of settled, I thought about going. I thought I was going to go free hit, and nothing's really changed my mind from what you guys have said, what I've read, you know. And I think I'm still going to stick with free hit, mainly because my team is set up for those last 8 game weeks. Anyway, within reason. Obviously, I want to change. I'll probably get my Liverpool players out, but I could do that. One or two at a time.
You've got all your chips, haven't you?
Every chip as well. So, and also I might just drop the wild card straight away afterwards. But I think that's too much because we just don't know what's going to happen.
So, are you
triple captain this week then?
Triple captain.
Are you not thinking about manager of the month, best game week score, those sorts of things?
Well, yeah, but everyone's using a chip this week, so you could also argue that you're negating the chances there, but by using them later, you've got more chance of hopefully plucking a prize. Plus, the other thing is, I think later on. So I'm using my free hit, but I'm just keeping the other 3.
Yeah, fair enough.
No, I'm agreeing. As in, like 3 game weeks away, no one will be using a chip, and you can pull out a triple captain in a random game week after the FA Cup.
As soon as I see Son come back and play up front because Harry Kane is playing deep, I'll be like, right, I'll just triple captain Son for a good fixture. And actually, that's the way it should be, really, because it's almost cheating when you play them on doubles. Like especially what you said about that game, that one double. I think it was the first year they brought them in.
Yeah, it was the first.
We all captained Sanchez and Aguero, and we basically all got Yeah, so lucky. And we didn't realise. We thought, this is so easy, this game now. You
This
just
is
keep
what it's going to be like every time.
your chips to the end and you can overtake all the casuals. And it's not like that. And especially this season, it's not like that. And it's evened up the playing field completely. And it's good. It's good, apart from where I am in the league. But for everyone else, they've got a chance of winning prizes. And that's what it's all about.
Chris, you've got chances of winning prizes, mate.
I have. I've still got the chance of winning. Yeah, that's the good thing. There's still prizes to win.
All sorts of chances.
Absolutely. I've got a chance every single week.
That flip side of holding onto things is, say, for instance, like Norwich, which I think are doomed. And like you get 3 game weeks out, it's behind closed doors. What chance do they have rotation you'd expect? That's where you could have someone like Spurs at home playing, or they Norwich near the end. Man City played them as their last game at home. And Norwich will be relegated by then. Man City might be warming up, but you will have younger players in that Man City team trying to get into the Champions League team, into the best 11 to prove themselves.
So what you're saying is I can triple captain Foden in game week 37, something like that.
Yeah, I was going to say Otamendi, but yeah.
I mean, by that point, I may as well, because I think it might be my season might be beyond me. But there is so much to play for everyone, really. In terms of fantasy, and that's what's so great about fantasy, because actually we're all looking at the Premier League and it's pretty much done and dusted. Especially if
Does anybody else feel like, it's like, this is just the last few games and you're having a bit of fun, it's nearly over. But if you think about it, it's still a quarter of the game to be played. It's quite a bit. I personally am kind of throwing caution to the wind and going, look, it's the last few games. But it's more, I need to tell myself this, the more I think about it, there's still quite a bit to play. It's just so condensed, it's making it seem like it's nearly over, but it's not. There's still a lot can happen.
Oh, definitely. Well, I think that's a very positive note to finish the debate on. But before we go, firstly, I wanted to tell everyone that on Wednesday, obviously the football's starting, and if you're in the FFUK League, we're going to do something a bit special because it's Pete's birthday. It's his. Can I say what number it is, Pete? Your 21st birthday, and plus 19, and it's a big one. And obviously these are weird times, so we can't do what we'd normally do. But the next best thing might be to watch Manchester City versus Arsenal in a Zoom watch along with Peter and other notable characters from the Fantasy Football League, and maybe some mates of yours might drop in as well. But that's Wednesday night, and obviously Peter will be there, I'll be there, and hopefully some of you guys might be there too. More details on that one soon. But thank you very much, Tim, for being here. Thanks, Tim.
One thing to say,
sorry, Pete, go on.
One thing to say, which is a little bit sentimental, but fair play to Paul, and thank you for your efforts with the Champions League. It's so frustrating that after all your work that it hasn't been able to pan out, but it's ready for next season. I was going to say that earlier.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, there were obviously going to be some casualties with the COVID thing. And, in FFUK, we had to lose the Champions League, but look forward to that again next season. And thank you, Paul, for all your work this season so far, and for joining us this evening. And Peter, I will see you on Wednesday. Thank you very much for being here. Justin, thank you for dropping in all the way from County Cork. And Damo, also thank you for dropping by and giving us some of your expert opinions. Hopefully we'll do this again soon. It's been fun. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks.
Cheers. Good luck for the game week.
Good luck, everyone.
Great to have you.
Good luck for the rest of the season. Cheers. Bye now.
Bye.